Hey guys, Chris here. In this video, I'm going to give you guys my 1 month, 10,000 kilometer review of my E-Tron GT. You can see parked right behind me. So about 4 weeks ago, I took delivery of this thing of a beauty behind me. And since then, I've been to Western Norway. I've been through Sweden. I've been through Denmark. I've been to Copenhagen. I've been to the south of Germany, to Munich. I've been to the Porsche factory in Stuttgart with this car. I've been all over the place, blasting on the Autobahn. 10,000 kilometers later, we are here, and in this video, I'm gonna give you guys my review of my E-Tron GT. In a light color, the Audi E-Tron GT is a truly beautiful and stunning thing to look at. I really do think that this is one of the prettiest designs of the past few decades. It's such a stunning thing. And it's so low and wide in person. Photos and videos doesn't really do this thing justice. You have to see it in person to just see how different it is to every other car on the market. Even a Porsche Taycan, this looks distinctively different from that car. And in this Suzuka gray, it really does accentuate and, highlight the curves and the lines. Look at this rear haunch, guys, over the rear wheel. Yeah, it's such a stunning thing. I love this design. I'm just falling more and more in love with it for every day that passes by. And this being Suzuka gray with the black optics package, black mirrors, these 20-inch wheels, and the black grille surrounding, it really does look beautiful. I couldn't have spec'd this better myself if I bought one new from Audi. And guys, look at this upgrade. We now have black Audi rings courtesy of Marcus Bil. He rang me up the other day. He's like, yeah, your black rings have arrived. I'm like, black rings? I didn't order any black rings. He said, no, I ordered them. And I'm like, okay, so what's it gonna cost me? He said, nothing, it's on the house. Look at this. This is the icing on the cake. It's such a cool thing. And also now with the ceramic coating, it really makes that gray underlying paint color pop. It's such a cool color that changes in the light, and the ceramic coating just makes it pop even more. So courtesy of my friends at Mittdekkhotell, who are also the sponsor of today's video, there will be a link in the description box down below to get 10% off ceramic coating from Mittdekkhotell. They have stores around Oslo and around Bergen, so if you live in the area, I would highly recommend you guys to get ceramic coating, which will protect your paint. Now especially, winter is coming, so ice, grime, things on the road, it will protect the paint and make it much easier to wash and clean your car. And also, this being an EV, at one point I'll probably be dragging some cables along the side. Not on purpose, but that will probably happen. So instead of getting scratches in the paint, I will get scratches in the coating instead. So I highly recommend that. And also, they've also washed the car, washed it completely down. It just looks so nice now. That's something I also recommend you to do about once a month now in winter time. So there will also be a link in the description box down below to the services with car detailing that Mittdekkhotell offer. But guys, look at this design. It's such a beautiful thing, and it really does get attention. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the video because it is fun. At this point, this car is so fun, and I'm kind of getting cold feet for my Cross Turismo because it doesn't look as good as this. I don't know, I haven't seen one in white yet, but can it look better than this? I don't know. Is there any other EV you guys think looks better? Let me know in the comment section down below. My car rides on optional air suspension and optional 20-inch wheels. And I have to say, the ride comfort in this car is extremely impressive. It is so smooth over rough pavement. I don't know how they've been able to make this car ride even better than my E-Tron 55, which was also on 20-inch wheels, but with fatter sidewalls and air suspension. I don't know, it's so impressive. It just irons out and smooths out rough pavement like no other car I have driven recently. It is so impressive. It rides better than the Porsche Taycan and anything I can actually remember in the past few years. And then we have some of my biggest concerns, and that was these sports seats. So my E-Tron 55, I had equipped with the optional sports seats, and after a few hours on the road, I would get, pain in my bottom because this seat cushion was so hard. I drove a car with comfort seats, no problem at all. Those seats are much more comfortable for long trips. But these seats, actually, to my surprise, and my big concern was taking this car down to Germany, 5,500 kilometers in a week, lots of hours behind the wheel, 10, 12, 14-hour days. no issues at all. These seats are almost as good as the seats in the Polestar 2, and those seats are basically the best seats of any car, because these are, they're supportive enough, but they also have, that layer of cushion where you don't get pain in your back, you don't get pain in your bottom, even after, half a day of driving. They are very impressive. And then you have the room in here. So front cabin, this thing is spacious. Though if you have long legs, like a friend of mine who is above 2 meters tall with really long legs, he will actually hit his knee up into the dashboard. So if you're really tall, this car probably won't fit you, but everybody else, this is a spacious cabin. And most people I show this car to, they're like, wow, it's actually big inside. Yes, it is. And even the back seat is roomy enough. I mean, I have my daughter here with a child seat, but the other week we were riding here with a friend of mine. He's also quite tall, like 1.9 meters tall. And then we had 2 children in the back, no problem at all. And then the trunk is 420 liters almost. So not the biggest, but you have, this underfloor storage, which you have in this car, because this does not have the optional Bose Bang & Olufsen sound system. So you actually have a bigger trunk. You also have a front that is 80 liters. So all in all, the boot space or trunk space in this car is like 500 liters. So taking this car on a long trip with people is no problem at all. It's actually much more practical than I thought it was initially. Haven't driven this car now 10,000 kilometers, and most of them being on the Autobahn in Germany or motorway in Sweden, Denmark, or here in Norway, I've learned a few things about real world range. So WLTP rates this car at 488 kilometers. You can easily do that on 2-lane country roads here in Norway. This car can go from Oslo to Bergen on a single charge, no issues at all. And if you go somewhere where it's flat, instead of crossing over, the mountain from Oslo to Bergen, it can probably go further. But on the motorway at 110 kilometers an hour, that's measured speed, not speedometer speed, actual measured speed. This car can almost go 400 kilometers with temperatures at around 20 degrees Celsius. And then my last day in Germany on the Autobahn, I tested this car at 140 kilometers an hour. All of these tests are done in efficiency mode, where the car lowers down on its suspension and it goes front wheel drive only, but it's still plenty fast, plenty comfortable, and you get this cool stance where it just is down on its suspension. So it's really, really good looking. I just love this stance. But at motorway speeds on the Autobahn, 140 kilometers an hour, this car can go 330 kilometers with ambient temperatures of around 15 degrees Celsius. And then you have my second to last day, which I went VMAX, 248 kilometers an hour, which is the top speed of this car, and it can be there for hours without overheating. It was first after like 3.5 hours going VMAX, the car, started to overheat, but I just, backed up the throttle for like 2 minutes and it was fine. I could go VMAX the rest of that day, which was like another 4 hours. So at that pace, this car can cover like 150 to 170 kilometers because you have a lot of heat loss going VMAX, but still, that is very, very impressive. At this point in time, I have had quite a few expensive cars. I mean, nothing crazy expensive, no supercars, no Bentleys or Rolls Royces, but cars, above 1 million kroner. So like 100,000 euros plus, $120,000 plus. And in my opinion, that is a lot of money to spend on a car, and it's probably the maximum amount most people will ever spend on a car in their lifetime, unless you're like super rich. That's a luxury product for 95% of the population. I really do think that. So, that is an expensive car for me and an expensive car for a lot of people. But what I have been lacking in many of those experiences is the feeling of specialness. And it may just be me, but like spending a lot of money, I want to feel a little bit special. Of course, my first XC90, which was like 1 million kroners, was within a few months of launch. So, I mean, when I got that car, it was white, it was stunning. There weren't a lot of those on the roads, but very quickly that car became common. So when I got my second XC90, which was much more expensive than my first one, because that had all the bells and whistles, it still felt like a special car, but XC90s at that point here in Norway were like a dime a dozen. And then my E-Tron GT, which wasn't quite 1 million kroners, that was like 900,000 kroners, still a lot of money, spec'd the way I wanted it, I like that car. It's still up for sale at Marcus Bil, so link in the description box down below if you're looking for a bargain on an E-Tron 55. We just reduced the price now. But those are so common in Norway now. They sold like 15,000 last year. In my street alone, there are like 8. This though is still fairly new. I mean, this car hasn't been out on the market for more than 6 months, but it's such a special car because you don't see a lot of them. It looks like nothing else on the road. And I think when a lot of people are spending this amount of money, and it is a lot of money to spend on a car, it's a lot of money to spend on a car, most people are going to want a nicer badge like a Porsche. That's just how it works. And yes, I'm guilty of this because I have a Gran Turismo on order. So I'm not making excuses. I'm talking from experience. And I was struggling with this for a long time. Like, I had a press car and I'm like, oh, I spec'd an e-tron. And I'm like, oh, that's the same money as a Porsche. I want a Porsche. I've had quite a few Audis. This is like my 4th or 5th Audi, guys. So I've had a few Audis. But this is different from anything else. This is such a special car. It looks special. It feels special. It's slow. It feels like you're driving a supercar. It's fast. It's dramatic. And the other flip side of the experience is how people react. And I wasn't expecting this, guys. How the positive response, people taking photos and filming, and kids like getting excited and like giving me thumbs up. I wasn't expecting that at all, because I've had a few press cars before I bought this. I've had a black e-tron and I had a gray RS e-tron GT. And yes, those cars got attention, but nothing like this. So it has to be the spec in this color, which really makes it pop. But like within the first half hour I bought this car, delivery video in the description box down below if you haven't seen that. Me and my friend, we went through the McDonald's drive-thru, and the girl who worked there probably doesn't care about cars at all. This young girl, she's like, wow, that's one beautiful car. I get people almost on a daily basis like, wow, such a beautiful car, thumbs up. So how people are responding to this car is a huge part of the experience. And of course, if you want to be anonymous, if you don't want to be seen, this is not the car for you, especially not in this color. But people react to this car like a supercar. When I went down to Germany, you know, I stayed at the hotel there in Munich. I asked the guy, like, is it okay if I park there? And he popped his head out and he's like, yeah, you can park there. And he's like, is that an Audi R8? Seriously, guys, people think this is a supercar. And, you know, at this price point, having that experience, that is very, very special. So I wasn't expecting that. That's a positive, you know, upside of the ownership, and it just makes the whole experience so much more special. Ooh, this weather. Yeah, it is fall now, so yeah, welcome to the rainy season. But okay, we're now connected to this 150 kilowatt Delta charger, but we're sharing it with this Model 3 right next to us. So we're actually getting 75 kilowatts. That means this should be an 800 volt charger. This car has an 800 volt architecture, so there's no conversion lost. If this was a 400 volt charger, it would have had to convert it to 800 volt. We would be losing maybe 5 to 10 kilowatts, but nothing now. And we're at 47%, getting 75 kilowatts. I've been driving maybe an hour shooting this video, but I haven't been on the motorway, just driving around, and ambient temperature is 14 degrees Celsius. So this car, at this speed and at this percentage, no problem getting 75 kilowatts. But peak speed in this car is 270 kilowatts. And from the charging test I have done, it should be getting that from 0 to about 50%. You'll be about 250, and then it will start to throttle, and then like at 80% it really starts to, well, throttle, at least relatively compared to the speed you get. This actually charges to 100% fairly quickly, unlike something else like a Polestar 2, which would take like, I don't know, an hour from 80 to 100%. This will probably take, I don't know, maybe like 20-25 minutes, which is relatively quick. But what this car is, I have experienced, it's more sensitive to ambient temperature and also battery temperature compared to my e-tron 55, where that would just, you know, charge 150 kilowatt flat from 0 to 79% any time of the year, any time of the day. And the reason for that is that it has a very large battery heating element where it would actively heat up the battery after connecting to a charger. All EVs have this, but the size of these elements are smaller and bigger in other cars. So the e-tron 55, minus 20 degrees, connect to a charger, after like 10 minutes, you're getting that peak speed. This, not so. But what this does have that other car does not have is that it has preheating while navigating to a charger. So if you select a charger that is 175 kilowatts or faster, this car will preheat the battery. So then connect, you'll get that speed. So charging most of the time has been really reliable. I've been getting that peak speed, but you do have to be a little bit wary, and sometimes the chargers aren't even in the GPS. So the other day up in Vinderen here in Oslo, I found, you know, new 225 kilowatt chargers from Fortum. They were not in the car, so I wasn't able to navigate. Thankfully, I've been driving the car for a few hours. It was like almost 20 degrees outside, so I got that peak speed. I did get that peak speed. So it remains to see, when it gets colder, will we get that peak speed, or will this be very sensitive and Colgate? Oh, and talking about charging, I'm actually giving away a Zaptec Go home charger worth 700 euros to a lucky subscriber once we hit that 30K mark. So if you want to be entered into the giveaway, you have to click that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, why don't you click that like button for the almighty YouTube algorithm? Thank you very much. Audi's virtual cockpit, this 12-inch driver display, is actually getting quite old now. I think these first came to market in like 2015. Is that like 6 years ago? That is insane. But that doesn't matter. It's still, in my opinion, the best digital gauge cluster of any car on the market. It's simple, but still you do have some customization. So you can see here we have the map on the left side. We can, you know, do trip computer, we can do media, or we can do our phone. You can also change the view, so you can have a large map view or a small map view. And this is the, you know, the Audi Sport view. So you can have the traditional view, which you can get in other Audis. It's still the best black levels, the highest refresh rate, crispest graphics of any digital gauge cluster in the business. It's amazing that it's so good after so many years. And then we have the Touch MMI, which is, this is a bit newer. This came to market in like 2016, I think, or 2017 with the C8 Audi A6, if I'm not mistaken. And again, it's good, but it's not the best out there. To do simple tasks like battery percentage, it is kind of a hassle. You have to go into car. Yes, it's the Norwegian, guys. And then you have to go into charging, and then charging there. Then you get your battery percentage. And it's not the fastest to respond, which is a bit weird, because in my e-tron 55, that was quicker, but it's not slow. And there are no delays. I mean, it doesn't lag like if we go home here. Oh, yes, it lags. There's lags. Okay. Yeah, so sometimes it has some lag and some refresh issues there. But it's not as bad as other Volkswagen Group products. And it's also reliable. Like, I've only had this crash on me like once in all of the Audis I've tested in the past 5 years, and all the Audis I have had. So it's good. This car is lacking head-up display, which I don't mind, because I'm actually not a huge fan of head-up display. I just find it redundant and sometimes in the way, especially when you have a gauge cluster like this, which is so good and so detailed. Other tech, this car has physical buttons for the climate control. That is pretty awesome. I love that. That is something I'm going to miss when I get my KrisRifa. And then you have physical buttons down here. You have a beautiful selector. This though, this pad here to adjust the sound isn't my favorite, but it's nice. I would rather have, you know, the knob that you have in other Audis. And this also has the assistant package tour, which gives it, you know, not only lane keep, but also auto steer. And auto steer in Audi is, I love auto steer in Audi because it doesn't have a sensor on the steering wheel's column like other cars where you have to go like this. It has pressure sensors on the steering wheel, so as long as you are holding around the rim, it, you know, detects that you're holding it, not gonna beep at you, so you don't have to go like this all the time like in other cars. So yeah, tech is pretty solid in this car. The past month in the Audi E-Tron GT has probably been one of my best car owning experiences ever. It's such a lovely car, and I've really bonded with this car in a way I can't remember I probably have ever bonded with a car before. Is it because it's such a beautiful car? Is it because it's such a good car? Is it because it's such a special car that, well, you don't see a lot on the road? Or is it because right after I bought it, I took it down to Germany and I had a blast on the Autobahn? I don't know, but either way, this is probably the best car I have ever owned. And I'm kind of sad inside because I know that this Fairtail here isn't gonna last forever. It's gonna go in, I don't know, a few weeks, a few months. My Cross Turismo from Porsche has been delayed, so I don't know when that will arrive. Maybe in December, maybe in January. So hopefully I still have some time left with this. But then again, if it's sold quickly now, I'll maybe get another one. In the meantime, waiting for my Cross Turismo. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below. And for more car content, as always guys, please subscribe. See you guys later and goodbye.